everybody. I don't know how good the sound's gonna be on this one today. I'm using the flip cam. It's gonna be one of the dizzy videos. Just a lot of shaking, a lot of moving around. I'm gonna take you for a walk. Got a bit of a bucket of cold water this afternoon. I've been planning a trip to the States this February. Well, turns out I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go in February because I gotta get a new tourist visa, because the last time I was in the States my passport was stolen. Tourist visa along with it. You might be aware that in order to travel to the United States you need a tourist visa, unless you're from certain countries, like if you're from the EU, etc., etc. But being an Argentinian citizen, I do need a tourist visa, and it appears that they're only giving those out, like you need to go in for an interview at the consulate, and the guy at the place said, you know, we're giving out these dates for interviews. You gotta be thinking mid-March. So I'm thinking mid-March, okay, that's no good. So I got some time to kill. Check it out, old bookstore. So I figured, you know, personal note aside, that's some law books. You know, personal note aside, I'd made a take you guys for a walk. You know, I haven't shown you a lot of what was outside my place. All my videos, I kind of sing around, you know, not doing much. Just talking, it's all intellectual, you know? But I do like to leave the house. I really do, trust me. And I thought, you know, bike messengers over there, enjoying cool Coca-Cola, chilling. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is the heart of Buenos Aires. You could say this is one of the main arteries of Buenos Aires, and as a matter of fact, around here in Argentina, avenues are often referred to as just that, arteries. This is Avenida 9 de Julio, 9 de Julio Avenue. Now, as far as I know, this is the widest street in the planet. Now, take a look. This thing's about a block wide. We're talking over 100 meters. For all you metrically challenged people out there, I don't know how many feet that is, but as you can see, you got two big sections here in the middle, and then you got one there. That's one of our buses. That's 59 bus. A lot of buses in Buenos Aires. Street sign, as you can see, Avenida 9 de Julio and Viamonte. Alright, it usually takes a little bit of time to cross this baby. Now, I gotta tell you, this is a shaky video. You're gonna get dizzy and everything. I'm rambling, talking about my personal life. You know, not very interesting. And if you're here to learn some Spanish, I won't be speaking Spanish in this video, I gotta tell you, aside from snippets, because I don't want people looking at me weird, because I already look weird talking to myself, recording shit, if you'll excuse my French. Now, when you're gonna look weird, you want people to think you're a tourist. You see what I mean? Line 59. You can tell buses by collars in Buenos Aires. Now right there we got what do we got? We got 100, number 5 in the distance, right there. I don't know if you can see it. This big 5. I really don't know how good the sound is on this thing, on this video, how it's gonna be today, because really, I'm just kind of yelling. You got all this traffic, but you know, bad news aside, I guess I'll be going elsewhere during the summer, you know? Who knows? Might go to Uruguay. Palm trees are not native to Buenos Aires, but they're kind of popular around here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this right there, what you see in the distance, this is one of the top 5 opera houses in the world. The Kalon Theatre, named after Christopher Columbus, Cristóbal Colón, El Teatro Colón. Now this baby over here, please disregard the work in progress here with all these containers and things. Now what you see right there, now that theater is absolutely gorgeous on the inside, trust me. Now, the reason it's one of the top 5 opera houses in the world is the acoustics. Now, the acoustics in this place are world famous. That's why it's one of the best opera houses in the world. And if you ever come to Buenos Aires, you can come to Teatro Colón, the Kalon Theatre, and you can see some world-class performances here. And let me tell you, tickets are relatively quite cheap. And we're talking, now, if you're willing to watch an opera standing up, if you're willing to go without a seat, standing room only, we're talking something like, let me think, less than $10. I shit you not. Some people around here. Now, this theater has been closed for some time now, but it opened again this year around around May. Now, unfortunately, I only got to see one opera this year. Then I kind of slept on my laurels and kind of slacked off, and I didn't get to see any more. And then I wanted to see the last one of the year, last one of the season, and no such luck because they were out of tickets. And as a matter of fact, after that there was some kind of problem. Because, you see, here's the thing. The musicians went on strike because they were unhappy with pay and things. So what happened was they went on strike. That's our national flag right there on this building. I don't know what this building is. There's a movie theater a little bit further ahead. Now if you come to Buenos Aires, you're gonna see some of this. I don't know if that's your cup of tea, but well, think Las Vegas. There's a lot of that going on around here. I don't know, I'm reliably informed. I don't know for a fact. But, you know, what can I say? You know, I'd rather go there, to be honest. I'd rather take a lady to the theater than, you know. Let's just say I'd rather pay for a ticket to take a lady to the theater than pay for a lady. You get my drift. Now, what I'm going to show you now, I'm telling you, this is the heart and soul of Buenos Aires, and well, of course, you know, not everything's so pleasant. Some homeless people there. we got a real poverty problem here in Argentina, and specifically in Buenos Aires, because since this is the largest city in the country, it's presumed that there are jobs here. Now, this is not necessarily the case, but people do come here from other parts of the country, poor parts of the country. And when we talk poor, I'm talking poor, like real effing poor. This is some kind of thing. Oh yeah, this little plaza. It's called Province of San Juan, Provincia de San Juan. And that PTA dot thing is short for plazoleta. That's like a small square. Now what you see in the distance, this is the #1 landmark in Buenos Aires. This baby right here kind of looks like something you got in the States, but believe it or not, I think this one's larger. Now this is a real big monument. It's an obelisk. It's called affectionately and, well, quite descriptively, El Obelisco. And as you can see, this is a large monument. Now you might see, or you might not be able to see, some wires hanging off from the top. I think they're gonna light these up. You know, because 'tis the season, you know what I'm saying? Now, there's also a little bit of a Christmas tree there, etc. Police officers. Now, we don't want to get them wondering, you know. Anyway, we'll wait for a second. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you know, what the hell? Let's take a little detour. I'm gonna take you this way. Let's see if I can, yeah. Now I don't know who these bikes belong to. They might belong to bike messengers. That's kind of weird to see them here, just unguarded, but they probably do belong to bike messengers. There's a lot of bike messengers around here. Because, like I told you, this is the heart and soul of Buenos Aires. This is downtown Buenos Aires. A lot of people waiting for the bus there. And the streets around, you know, besides the fact that this is the widest avenue in the world, most of the streets around downtown are really actually very narrow. We have some, I think these are like tourist transportation. Now this right here, it's got a little ad on the side, that's for beer. Apparently they're celebrating 120 years of this beer. Not a big fan of that beer, I gotta be honest. It's an Argentinian brand, then was bought by Brazilian interests. I gotta tell you, not a big fan of this beer. I like Mexican beer. Modelo beer. Best beer in the world. Mild, tasty. Goes down smooth, but it's got character. What can I say? They're from the guys who make Corona, but Corona's for tourists, you see. Corona's for gringos. Now Modelo, that's the good stuff. Now as you can see the obelisk there. I'm gonna make my way here real quick. This is what we call jaywalking. Now, it's not recommended unless you know your way around here, but it's a bit of a national sport in Buenos Aires, to be honest. That's the entrance to the subway right there. I don't know if you can see it. I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna get run over. This is the entrance to the subway. One of the subway lines, you can see some tags around. Guy over there selling stuff. He's probably one of our African immigrants. You see, let me tell you, some months ago, beginning of the year, I was in North Carolina, and I talked to a black gentleman that I met outside the Social Security office. Now he asked me, and it was quite a striking question because I wasn't expecting it. He asked me, well, the quite obvious question, but I had never been asked this question. Are there any black people in Argentina? That's a good question. Actually, there are. but there's not a lot of them. Now you might have noticed this. I think that's the first black guy you've seen on this footage. But the thing is, you see, there was slavery in this country back in the days when we were still a Spanish colony. And some people are going to tell you there weren't a lot of slaves around here. That's not exactly true. There were quite a good number of them. Now, when independence was declared, something was also declared called the freedom, called something like birth freedom. It's a loose translation. The Spanish was libertad de vientres. Literal translation would be womb freedom. Basically, what does that mean? That means that every slave was still a slave, but every son of slaves after that date would be free, would be a free man. So because of this, many slaves were freed. I don't know if you can see the inscription there. I'm going to read it for you in a minute. Let's take a bit of a panoramic view. It's a real sunny day today. This is really the closest to Times Square kind of thing that as you're gonna get here in Buenos Aires. Very beautiful old buildings, turn of the century style. May look to you a bit French. That's because they are French style. Sorry about the glare, man, it's real hot around here. Woo! Anyways, I was telling you. So, as you can see, I'm taking advantage of, now that's the national flag, waving in the distance. And buses. City 9 again. Number 10. Number 24 in the distance. I think that in the distance is something like 180 something. There's a lot of bus lines. Now, as I was saying, let's finish the story. Slavery and black people in Argentina. After this, many black people were freed. Most of them lived around this part of the country, Buenos Aires, because in the farms, most of the stuff being done was growing, raising cattle, so there wasn't a high amount of manual labor needed. Sure, there were black people out of the countryside, but most of them were in the cities. They were servants and so on. Not really farm laborers, not so much, even though there were some. Most of them were here. So after that, a lot of them came to settle in a neighborhood. Now, of course, back then the city was a lot smaller, but they had their own neighborhood. And then, tragically, there was you can see some graffiti here. There's a lot of graffiti in Buenos Aires, some of it political. That man that you see right there, that's the mayor. I don't think whoever painted him like that liked him a lot. Either way, as I was telling you, tragically, there was a yellow fever epidemic. And because of this, and this epidemic was the harshest in that neighborhood. So because of this, a lot of the native black population, descendants of slaves, died off. And also, many of the men joined the army. And later, I don't know what happened first, the yellow fever or the war, but we went to war with Paraguay. It was a very bloody war. And there were heavy casualties on both sides of the conflict. And being that this was a land war, well, a lot of these men, black men, were in the army. They died in the war. So as a result, the very, very few black people who survived the yellow fever epidemic and the war basically ended up assimilating into the general population, and as a result there are basically no recognizable black people native to Argentina. If you see black people in Buenos Aires, they are, generally speaking, there's very few of them, and they're all immigrants. Relatively recent immigration from other Latin American countries with black populations, or more recently still from Africa, Ghana, Senegal, etc. And you can see many of them selling things on the street, jewelry usually. They congregate, they live, most of them, especially ones from Ghana, around a neighborhood in town called Once. It's not so close to here, but not so far, relatively speaking. Okay, so that's the story of why there's not a lot of black people around Buenos Aires. If you see a black person, he's either an immigrant or a tourist. Okay, now let me show you this inscription right here. This inscription says, Buenos Aires to the Republic, that's to Argentina, in the 400th anniversary of the foundation of the city by Sir Pedro de Mendoza, Don Pedro de Mendoza, February 8th, and that in Roman numerals is, I believe, 1536. That is the foundation of the city. I think the second foundation of the city, because Buenos Aires, believe it or not, was founded twice. That's another story. I may tell you this time or some other time. Let's take a look at the other inscription. This thing, this fence around it, I think is relatively new. Now, right there it reads, in this site, in this place, on the Tower of St. Nicholas, for the first time in the city, was raised for the first time in this city the national flag on the 23rd of August of 1812. The national flag, la albiceleste, the light blue and white that you can see right there, with the Son of May in the center on the white strip, was designed by one of our founding fathers called Belgrano, after who my neighborhood, the neighborhood I live in, was named. Right here you can see the federal capital law dictated by National Congress on the 20th of September of 1880 by initiative of the President Nicolás Avellaneda, by decree of the President Julio Argentino Roca, 6th of December 1880. That's when Buenos Aires was declared the national capital. You can see a recent message here. Santa Claus awaits you at the Christmas tent in your commune. The communes are the divisions, the districts of the city. And that is, find all the information, www.buenosaires.com. gov.ar. That is the logo of the current government of the city of Buenos Aires. It's kind of trendy looking. Let's see if there's any other inscriptions here. There is another inscription here regarding the second foundation of the city of Buenos Aires. It reads, "Second foundation by Juan de Garay on the 11th of June of 1580. That was the second foundation. Now, it's been about 25 minutes. A little bit of the heart and soul of Buenos Aires.